Good morning, traders. I'm Emily Bonney, the CEO of the Investment Banking Institute and your host here at NewsWare's Trade Talk. Joining me is trading anchor Bill Olson, who brings more than 30 years of institutional trading experience to our program. At Trade Talk, we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Today is Thursday, December 12th. Interest rates and inflation still seem to be the dominant storyline for the markets today. This after yesterday's CPI print and a mixed day on Wall Street. During regular trading, the Nasdaq jumped to close at a record level, adding nearly 350 points or more than 1.75% to tip over 20,000 points for the first time. The S&P 500 also advanced, climbing 49 points or 0.82%. The Dow ended lower, giving up 100 points or just less than 0.25%. Bill, let's get into Thursday's action with what is happening in the markets this morning.
Yes. Good morning, Emily. I'm watching the S&Ps and we're negative. We're down 0.2%. Not a good way to start the morning. The inflation data remains front and center because this morning we get the final demand data coming out on the PPI, the Producer Price Index for November, which is coming out in the pre-market. Additionally, you have Adobe shares getting smacked this morning. The report wasn't bad. I mean, I read the report. It was actually pretty good, but their forward guidance, like for the year, not for the quarter, for the year was a little light. And as such, because, they really are taking this thing to town. I mean, the stock's down over 11%. After the bell today, we get, more earnings coming out. AVGO's coming out and Costco, ticker COST. They're scheduled to release. We got an ECB monetary policy announcement scheduled for this morning. Ceasefire agreement in Gaza looks closer as Hamas made some concessions. They're going to be releasing some hostages. They're going to allow the Israeli troops to temporarily stay in Gaza for a period of time. Really wasn't said how long that period of time was. I see Domino's Pizza is transferring its listing to the Nasdaq from the New York Stock Exchange. Not great for NYSE, that's for sure. But let's take a look at what's happening over in Europe. I mean, it's flat, as you can imagine. I mean, you're looking at the DAX, it's up 5 points or 0.03%. You're looking at the FTSE, it's up 5 points as well, or 0.07%. The CAC is down 3 points or 0.05%. This is what you get in front of monetary policy announcements. And that's exactly what we have going on today. It should be coming out relatively shortly. Auto stocks in Germany trade a little higher. Luxury stocks in France trade a little higher. Commodity stocks on the FTSE showing a little optimism as it's waiting for some stimulus measure announcements from Beijing. Speaking of Asia stocks did show some gains overnight. We're looking at the Nikkei. It jumped 1.21% or 476 points. The Hang Seng jumped 240 points or 1.20%, and the Shanghai Composite rallied 0.85%. The Nikkei saw some gains in electronic and tech stocks. Hong Kong, they're really waiting on, support measurements announcements from that annual Central Economic Work Conference out of China. Chinese stocks saw some gains in liquor stocks, but it's really about the pending economic stimulus program. And I mean, they are looking to kind of show that they're going to be loosening the yuan. They're going to let it float a little bit more. If they weaken the yuan, the Chinese yuan, then that could act to, deflate some of the tariffs that may or may not come from the incoming administration. So we're keeping an eye on that. Now we're keeping an eye on oil as well. Oil is it's ticking higher. It's not, no real directional move just yet, but we're showing oil WTI at $70.42. We're showing Brent at $73.53. There's two factors going on here with oil that I'm watching. The Biden administration is looking to place additional sanctions on Russian oil. That's a lot of there's a lot of chatter about that. There's also chatter about the Biden administration revoking the Chevron license in its deal for oil production in Venezuela. That's another thing that's on the tape this morning. But oil prices, flat this morning. Waiting for a directional move or waiting for some news that could really make that market start to make oil move. But nothing just yet, Emily. But that's what I have for you in terms of morning market report.
And sifting through some of the things you mentioned there, of course, inflation remains on everyone's minds today as we wait for some more economic data. We will get to all the economic events in just a moment, but you did point out, earnings action still remains in play, and there's at least a couple of companies that are worth noting here. So let's start there. Bill, what is going on in terms of earnings action?
Okay, what do we see here? We have Nordson, ticker NDSN. They beat by 19 cents. They did that on higher revenue, but you look at that stock this morning, it is getting hit. Stock's down 5.43%. Then there's Adobe, ticker ADBE. I mean, they beat by 14 cents. They did it on higher revenue, and that stock's down 11.08%. Ciena, ticker CIEN, they missed by 11 cents, although it was done on higher revenue. Stock's down 6.42%. Costco's coming up after the bell, ticker COST. Their EPS is $3.79. Expected moves 12.34%. Broadcom, ticker AVGO. Apple, Victor, Grace, Oscar. Their EPS is $1.39. Expected move is 6.98% when they release after the bell today, Emily.
Next on the docket here, Bill, are the economic events. And as we both pointed out, this is really the headline maker today, as it was yesterday, as we're really trying to gauge the health of the economy, what is going on with inflation, really to inform what the Fed may be doing next week. So, Bill, what is going on in terms of the day's economic events?
Well, I mean, in terms of economics, at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time, we get the producer price index. I mean, I'm not expecting anything crazy. I mean, the core PPI, which excludes the volatile categories like food and energy, is projected to rise 0.2% on the month, which is below the 0.3% in October. But the annual core likely edged up to 3.2 from 3.1%. But we'll see how the market reacts to that. Then also at 8:30 a.m., you get the jobless claims coming out. Jobless claims are expected to come in at 220,000 for the week ending December 7th. That's down from 224,000 the previous week. The 4-week trend is 218, 250. So I mean but I mean we had that 1 week where it was 12,000 basically due to the Boeing strike. So I can't really put much attention into that 4-week trend, but it does look, it doesn't look bad. I still think we're on track for an ECB for a Fed rate cut in December of 25 basis points. But that's what I have for you in terms of an economic update, Emily.
And Bill, as we await that information, you're still keeping track of other information. That is not the only headline that is happening today. And in order to be able to see what else data, information, news is coming out that could be affecting the markets, you're using your NewsWare, breaking it down into alerts so you can follow things like merger news, guidance news, shareholders meeting, buyback news. You're looking at catalyst calls. You group your stocks together with an alert for your FANG stocks and one for your Dow 30 stocks to really be able to gauge any trends on the trading day. So, Bill, what else do you see is possibly moving the markets today?
Doing a quick data check. I got 14 Dow stocks higher. I got the 15 lower, one unchanged. Looking at my FANG stocks, seeing mixed action, some rises in Tesla and Netflix, Amazon and Apple. But Google and Meta are showing a little weakness. So we got to be a little bit concerned about that. In terms of other news hitting the tape this morning, what do we see? YouTube TV, Google, ticker GOG, YouTube TV viewers streamed over 1 billion hours of content daily in 2024. Okay, Meta Platforms has donated $1 million to President-elect Trump's inaugurational fund. Trying to curry some favor. Netflix walking back on its unlimited time off for parental leave. I mean, people were taking advantage of it, and that's kind of an issue. In terms of Dow Jones 30 news, what do we see here? We got Microsoft taking an $800 million impairment charge in Q2. Hey, that's because the GM no longer funding the robo-taxis. Microsoft had an investment in it, so they're kind of pulling that back. Cisco ticker CEO Chuck Robinson, he's going to be speaking at the Barclays Global Tech Conference today. UNH, listen, the weakness is overdone. The news that the Senate is working on a bill to separate pharmacy benefit managers from owning pharmacies. We'll see if that really turns into something. ECB came out with the news that they cut the deposit rate to 3% from 3.25%. Okay, that's good. That's the 25 basis point cut. That's exactly what we were expecting. We're taking a look at we're taking a look to see how the market's moving off of that news, and we're seeing some gain. We're seeing some gains in the market because of that. So it's a little bit of a turnaround, not huge, but this is what was expected. So that's good. In terms of merger news, what do we see? ACI Albertson, they're suing Kroger after the judge blocked the merger agreement. They're saying that Kroger did not do an ACI. Albertson is saying that Kroger did not do enough to win regulatory approval. I mean, I don't know what this is just tit for tat. Kroger then came out with a huge buyback. Bausch and Lomb, ticker BLCO, their board says the potential sale process is ongoing and there can be no assurances that it will result in a transaction. What do we got? Guidance news, Adobe, full year 2024, 2025 guidance. $2.20 to $2.50. Street estimate had it at $2.53. That's why we're seeing weakness in Adobe this morning for the full year 2025 guidance, which is really up in the air. I mean, it could easily be up. Nordstrom, ticker NDSN, they see Q1 adjusted EPS $1.95 to $2.15. Street estimate had it at $2.26. That's why the stock's getting hit. Shareholder meetings, we got MetLife, ticker MET. They're having an investors conference today, starts at 8:30. CH Robinson, that's ticker CHRW. Charlie Henry, Richard William, they're having an investors day at 9 a.m. And OLN, Olin Corp, they're having a shareholders meeting today. We're talking buyback news. We're talking Northrop Grumman, ticker NOC, Nancy Oscar Charlie. They announced a $3 billion share repurchasing agreement. Kroger, ticker KR, their board authorized a $7.5 billion share repurchasing agreement. $5 billion of it is going to be an accelerated share repurchasing. Olin, remember, I just told you they had a shareholders meeting. Olin, ticker OLN, they came out and they boosted their stock buyback plan by $2 billion. Yeah, that's all I got for you in terms of news hitting the tape this morning.
This is the type of data that NewsWare delivers daily. It's factual, it's market moving, and our alerting functions bring it to your attention as it happens. Go to www.newsware.com now and sign up for the trial and see for yourself the benefits that professional Newswire delivers. It is now that time of the show for the Trade Talk pick of the day. Bill, what do you have for us today?
It's a little light. I don't have a lot of good earnings news that excite me. So I'm going to go with the buyback news on Olin, ticker OLN, Oscar, Larry, Nancy. The shareholders meeting, the buyback news, the stock is weak. Brokers still have good ratings on it, but they have been lowering price targets. But it's really been, in a downward trend. If you look at yesterday's call volume, 546 calls versus 323 puts, that's got to give you a little bit of positive. So, if I can get in under 38, I think this will be a good move. It just really depends on where this stock opens up. But my pick of the day is OLN, ticker Oscar, Larry, Nancy. It's not hitting all my data points, but I think in a day like today where we could see some weakness, I think Olin could be a good pick, Emily.
We will follow Olin along with you today. And coming up, we will do a recap on yesterday's pick of the day, so stick with us. But first, let's take a look at the current breaking headlines that have hit the tape in our Hot Off the Press segment. Bill, take it away.
ECB drops pledge to keep policy restrictive. They removed the word restrictive from their comments. Visa direct to make funds available in 1 minute or less by April 2025. United Airlines integrates Apple's new share item location feature for AirTag. Rio Tinto, ticker RIO, they're going to invest $2.5 billion to expand the Rincon project in Argentina. Shoe Carnival, ticker SCVL, they announced a 50 million share repurchasing agreement. YOU, Clear Secure, they're going to be opening up a new location, the Mall of America in Minnesota. CLX, consumer stock, good top stock pick over at Jefferies. Clorox. KROS, Kilo Richard Oscar Sam. The company halted its dosing on its ongoing tropes trial. That's not good. U.S. Watchdog Agency for Consumer Financial adopted new regulations capping the amount banks can charge for overdrafts. They say it would save depositors $5 billion a year. Two top Democratic senators and a host of environmental groups are calling for investigations and accountability following a report that a lobbyist for ExxonMobil had been investigated for his role in a sweeping hack and leak operation that targeted prominent critics of the oil company. Blackstone company said it's going to require a high-end office building in central Tokyo for $2.6 billion. Chevron and ExxonMobil, two oil giants, are considering entering into the electricity business. ExxonMobil did that deal yesterday where they actually did a big CapEx spend, but it's because they bought out Pioneer. And with Pioneer, which is already in the shale drilling, they really had to continue that. So while it was surprising that they did such a big boost to their CapEx spend, it's not surprising when you factor in, that their agreement to buy out Pioneer, because it's kind of, they had to, and they got to get their oil out of the ground. And in order to do that, there has to be an investment. And yeah, so it wasn't crazy. It's not a crazy spend. The U.S. Appeals Court said on one rule that NASDAQ could not impose rules designed to increase diversity in corporate America by requiring companies listed on exchange to have women and minority directors on their board, or explain why they did not do it. New York Times reached an agreement, a tentative agreement for a 3-year contract with 600 tech workers at the New York Times. That's good. That's what I'm seeing this morning, Emily.
Okay, Bill, before we dive into trading on this Thursday, let's do that check-in on yesterday's pick of the day, which was Micron. Now, their earnings are next week, but you were hoping that would sort of provide some support for the stock. If our listeners recall, you made this call ahead of yesterday's CPI print, so things were cautious. We weren't really sure what was going to happen. Even though there was some record-breaking on Wall Street yesterday, there was also sort of a bumpy ride. But Micron was in the green, so how did your call work out?
Listen, worked out fabulous. I mean, just look at the numbers. I mean, the stock opened up at $99.50, and then it fell to $98.30, which really was, that's when it broke that 99. That was really starting to, get very appetizing for me. And then it just rallied and it hit a high of 102.66, which easily beats the 1% either from my target price or from the opening price, and it closed at 102.05. So yeah, Micron, ticker MU, winner yesterday. Big winner. Very happy, Emily. Very happy.
A good win there, Bill. And we will check in with you tomorrow about today's Olin pick of the day. Bill, thank you as always for your expert insight. Join us back here tomorrow to end your trading week with NewsWare's Trade Talk, when we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Again, I'm your host, Emily Advani, here with trading anchor Bill Olson. Traders, you know what to do. Let's go out there and make some green.